Hello geometry students. In this lesson we're continuing volume, only in this case we're doing irregular shapes where you actually have to combine volumes of different things. So looking at this first one, what I have is I have a box on the bottom that would be a right rectangular prism, and I have this wedge on the top that would be a right triangular prism. I have to find the volume of each one of them separately and then add them together. Well, the volume of the box on the bottom, I'm going to call it box, is length times width times height, or base times height. That's 384. That's inches cubed. And then I also need to find the area, the volume of the wedge on the top. This one's a little more complicated because it is a triangle, which I think those are difficult. That is going to be my base. The formula, remember, is base times height. I need to find the area of that base. This would be the other base. Remember, it has to be the same at either end. So my triangle looks like this. The area of a triangle is 1/2 base, a different base, times height. The base on this one they tell me is 12. The height they tell me is 9. So I believe that's 54. And it is. Now that's not the volume. The volume of this wedge, I'm going to call it, is base times height. Well, I just found the base is 54. And then I'm going to multiply that times the height, which they're telling me this distance here is the same as that. So on the top, that's 4. So the height of this cheese wedge, even though it's just the distance between the two, is 4. And that's 216. So the volume of the total is equal to the 216 wedge, the 384 of the base plus the 216 wedge gives me a total of, I believe, 600. It is 600 cubic inches. I was not able to find it directly. I found it in different pieces. Do the same thing on this one. What I have is actually, it looks like 3 different pieces. I've got a cylinder in the middle. I'm going to find the volume of a cylinder. And remember, it's just base times height. There's a formula for the area, for the volume of a cylinder. It is pi r squared, radius, times the height, which they're telling me is 11. This is actually the area of the circle. This is the base. And this is the height. So it is the same thing, base times height. It's just for a cylinder, it's a different type formula. That number is, it's 396 pi. I'm going to leave it as 396 pi, even though that's really closer to, say, 1,000. Because when I go to add it, I'm just going to leave it in terms of pi. Well, I also have 2 more. I have a circle, a semicircle on the top, and a semicircle on the bottom. But that's actually, if I put them together, is one entire sphere. So I would find the volume of this entire sphere, split it in half, but then add 2 of them. So I'm just going to find the volume of the sphere. And the formula for that is 4/3 pi r cubed. And the radius is the same. 6 times 6 times 6 times 4. That's going to be 288 pi. And you can get a decimal approximation for that, but it's better to wait until you're finished. So what I have is 396 pi's plus 288 pi's for a total of 684 pi's. And this is in feet, so that's feet cubed. That's my answer, but again, you may prefer to have it as a decimal approximation. So just go ahead and get 2148. Whichever one you prefer. I actually prefer the cleaner looking one, but this one down here, the decimal is a little bit more intuitive. Well, how about a box and a hemisphere? The box is easy. The volume of this box, length times width times height. That's the base. That's the height. That's a total of 768. And that's yards cubed. Could have done that the other day. Well, on this top one, I have the volume of a sphere. It's actually a hemisphere. So the volume of our sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. Well, I need to worry about the radius first of all. The radius, because this goes all the way to the edges, the radius is going to be half that distance. So the radius has to be 4. So for the volume of this sphere, 4/3 pi r cubed, but then I only want half of it. So my last step is I am going to divide by 2, or multiply times 1/2. So on this one, just going ahead and finding the volume of the sphere, and then divide that by 2, and you get 134. This is a decimal. 0.04, and that is also yards cubed. And then finally add them together for the total volume of the figure. And that equals 902. And again, I could not find that directly. Just basically do it in 2 different parts. How about an ice cream cone? I've got a cone on the bottom. The formula for the volume of a cone is 1/3 base times height, which of course is the base is the area of a circle. That's pi r squared. So, and then don't forget to multiply times the height. This is 1/3 base times height. The base, of course, being the area of a circle. So I'm going to go ahead and find that number. That's 500 pi. Now I need to find the area of this hemisphere in the top, or semisphere. That's the formula for a sphere, of course, is 4/3 pi r cubed. And again, the radius is the same. It's 10. And then the last thing I'm going to do is multiply it times 1/2, or divide it in 2, because I only want half of it. I don't want the entire sphere. So I'm going to go ahead and get the decimal for this one. We've seen this number before. Yards cubed. So my total on this one, I'm actually going to go ahead and get my decimal approximation because it looks weird to add them together. That's 1570 and 80. So the base 1570, and then the snow cone part itself. Surprising that it's actually more. $366 and 20. And again, it's just finding the different parts separately and then adding them together.